Welcome into another episode of Believe in Kentucky. Getting all hung up on my words. Cole Park. I was trying to say Cole before I said believe, and I was formulating the C before the believe, and it was just a glitchy mess. So Cole Park for the Cat's Pauses here. My name is Vinny Hardy. This is Believe in Kentucky. Cole, how are you? Let me stop talking.
I'm doing all right. Happy to be here. Happy, blessed to have another week. So we're here 1 week closer to football season, 1 week closer to basketball season, and 1 week deeper into rule changes and court rulings and all of that nonsense, and ready to get going.
Absolutely. Is there a game tomorrow or tonight? It's like Presbyterian playing somebody tonight. Or is that tomorrow?
Oof, that's a
Uh,
great question. If it's FCS, let me go look.
I'm,
Let's
uh,
pull it up.
like maybe we get somebody playing a live game tonight. If I might have just heard, it might be tomorrow, like everybody else or something. But
I think it's tomorrow. Looks
okay,
like there's some FCS games tomorrow. Shout out. What's the weirdest game I want to pick here? How about Presbyterian versus UVA Wise?
hey, see
There we go.
that's right across the mountain from where I grew up. Wise,
Mm,
Morton, Appalachia, Big Stone Gap, Virginia. Big Stone Gap, home of the Julius and Thomas Jones, who were just insane in high school, as you could imagine. And they had relatives in Lynch, Kentucky, where I'm from. Just when
mm.
you cross Black Mountain, highest point in Kentucky, if the crow flew straight, it'd be like 5 miles apart, but it's 7 miles up, 7 miles down, and then you wind. And but Virginia, here we are getting random. Virginia with sets of brothers regionally. You had Southwest Virginia, Thomas and Julius Jones right there along the Kentucky border. You go up to Roanoke area, which is not central, but a few hours up the road. You got Rondé and Tiki Barber, and then you
Mm.
go on up to the Hampton way. You got Michael and Marcus Vick. So I thought for sets of brothers, Virginia might. I don't know if you could rank every single state, but as far as having, I mean, that's six dudes that did some stuff. Marcus, not so much, but the other five, that's that's a that's a pretty strong list for one
Yeah,
state.
it's a
And
great list.
they dominate. I think they said Rondé and Tiki like ran the option. You mean those two running the option in high school? That is insane. Because I mean, Tiki with the Giants, Rondé with the Bucks, and that's I pity the 11th grade DBs that was trying to come up and support the run on those two. But yeah,
Reminds me of all those back when LeBron James was still in like public school. They're like some kid had to go drink chocolate milk and cold pizza at the cafeteria and then guard LeBron James after school. Like that sucks.
yeah,
Going against that option, that sucks, man. You're eating cafeteria food at school and then guarding that option, bro.
absolute.
Was not a fun week, I can imagine.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, Non-sports, man, something that the whole world is sad about, and regardless of age, you in your 20s, me in my 40s, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, older than me, even younger than you, uh, with the passing of Dolly Parton yesterday. Uh,
Mm.
just people say, icon this and icon that, but she truly was an icon, man. Uh, it's an unbelievable life and career that she had.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, even if you didn't listen to Dolly's music or follow a ton of what she put out, there's not a lot of people out there that you can just say that was a good one. Dolly and everything she did to help people, the messages she put out there, the way she embraced her fellow man. I mean, just a really positive person, and I do think that it's always sad when someone passes. It's always sad when we lose people. But Dolly Parton is one of those people that I think the world as a whole is worse because she's no longer in it. She was just such a kind soul who was such a good person, and she'll be very, very missed.
Yeah, Yeah. See, I'm nothing orange about me, but I live outside of Knoxville, so I'm just a hop and a jump from Sevierville and Gatlinburg
Mhm.
and Forge, and she's from Sevierville and Sevier County, and all the things she did for her hometown and for Sevier County. The Imagination Library. I know you don't have kids yet, but I mean, you get books every month from Dolly. It's little things, you know. First, I think they were 5 or 6 years old. You know, you sign up, you're on the list, and Dolly's doing that for 300 million books she sent out. All started because her father was illiterate, and so there was a quote of her saying that her dad said to her, in his opinion, that's the most important thing she ever did. And the list of things she did, I mean, Cole, we could be here all day, but that to top the list, just out of the kindness of her heart, you know,
Mhm.
remarkable.
So for it's very sad, and I think that you know I wouldn't want to say it's a shock. You know, she'd had some health scares earlier this year that she was able to pull through. Obviously, after the fact, you find out that she'd been battling cancer for a little while there, and even some of her last, she never publicized her battle with that. Really, she never, um, wanted the attention for herself. She just used what time she had left to try to help as many people as she could. You know, she was donating to charity. She was continuing her mission to help as many people as possible. And I just think it doesn't matter who you are, what you think, what you feel. You have to respect her and her legacy, and you have to feel it. It's unfortunate, but you have to feel it because it's a wonderful, wonderful person that was taken from us.
Yeah. And, you know, people had mentioned that she was just in Lexington a couple of years ago. Mark Pope
Mhm.
gave her a jersey when she was doing a concert coming through. So um, definitely missed. And if you look at those old clips, I mean, there's just the bubbliest, most happy, positive, upbeat personality all the time. This is, I mean, you're a historian and you read and but Johnny Carson, like my dad used to watch him, and I used to be like, man, why are we watching this? Why can't we put on ESPN or something like that? And now I miss that, and now I find myself, you know, hitting YouTube clips and stuff. But the YouTube clips of her on Johnny Carson and Letterman, and you know, just the back and forth, and uh, you know, she wrote a song for Johnny Carson, and she's got these super long fingernails, and she's flawlessly playing the guitar. Like, how is she even doing that? But yeah, just talented. You know, the 9 to 5 song movie. I Will Always Love You that she wrote, Whitney Houston covered,
Mhm.
Miss Gill covered. Uh, just, you know, so many amazing things. You know, but my kids were at Splash Country yesterday when the news of her passing came out. I mean, and the used to go to Dollywood as a kid. My dad had company picnics at work there. Everybody's, you know, going. So just the impact is just far reaching, and
Mhm.
there's no way we couldn't start off talking about anything else. You know? So we had to spend a few minutes on this episode talking about the great Dolly Parton for sure.
Mhm.
Um,
And if you're talking about celebrity passings as well, I'm a big horror fan. So today got another one. Rest in peace, Tim Curry. Obviously, did a lot of great work throughout his career, and is someone who, with one particular movie, I think not my personal favorite, but it has the cult classic Rocky Horror Picture Show. Um, did a lot to help a lot of people at that time who didn't feel seen. So just a rough 2 days in terms of losing people who made a lot of positive impacts on people around them.
yeah, and I'm not the biggest movie guy. People make fun of me because you know you haven't seen that, you haven't seen that. So I'm not, full disclosure, I'm not as familiar with him. Maybe I know of him and don't know that I know of him.
Played Pennywise the clown in the original It TV series that came out before the new movies recently came out. The famous Stephen King adaptation of It. That was Tim Curry. He obviously was in Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is a cult classic, and done a lot of other stuff too that I'm kind of blanking on right now. Um, let's
Pull up
see.
his IMDb.
He was in Clue, the movie, like that. He was in Home Alone 2. I did not know he was in Home Alone 2,
I say
but
that's one I've probably seen. I just
shout
didn't
out
know
to
who he was.
Home Alone 2 legend Tim Curry, I guess. Did not know
So
that.
that I probably would have seen him in that and just didn't know that
Halloween
was
2,
him.
Tim Curry and Donald Trump were in the same movie. Really? Never put that together. What a cast. What
Man.
a cast.
And he was the same age as Dolly. He was 80 also. It's like, yeah, so wow. So yeah, appreciate you enlightening me on Tim Curry. And also the Storm from American Gladiators passed away. She
Mm,
was 61. And so those three, and if you're in the 90s, American Gladiators was, I mean, that was, if you saw the 30 for 30 about it, or if you were actually watching it every week, that was the stuff back then. So yeah, shout out or condolences to Dolly Parton, Tim Curry, and Storm.
mm.
So we'll make the difficult transitions. There's never an easy way to transition to all the things you talked about Kentucky wise. Cole, who's eligible, who isn't. Did episode a couple weeks ago, and you're talking about the 5 for 5 and trying to make sense of it, and it's only gotten more
Got
ridiculous
worse.
since
Oh my
then.
God, worse. Yeah, so since the last time we talked about it, obviously we had all of these lawsuits coming through with 5 for 5, players that were out of eligibility from the class of 2022 trying to get back eligible. You had that obviously sweeping Colorado injunction from Judge Charlotte Sweeney that has since been put on pause with a stay request. Now, I've explained it a little bit on the site, but essentially, for those that don't know legal jargon, I had to educate myself as well. A stay request does not mean that the appeal has been successful. It does not mean that those players can't get back eligible. A stay request is essentially, hey, we're trying to appeal this thing that changed a bunch of rules. So the stay request says that until that appeal is successful or unsuccessful, the effects and the impact of the thing they're fighting will be put on pause. You know, think about it like, a new law came out that said, or not a law, but someone says you can take all this person's stuff. And you're like, well, I'm going to appeal that decision. A stay request would say, okay, well, maybe you'll still get to take all this person's stuff, but until we decide, if your appeal is going to be successful or not, just leave it all there. Don't do anything with it. Leave it alone until we decide. So then you saw more lawsuits coming through. Obviously, Mark Mitchell was a big part of that one in Louisville that passed. Now you got guys like Alex Safari trying to get in on that, but it kind of went down a further rabbit hole where you've seen a big talking point over the last 2 weeks has been guys that were on, NFL practice squads, guys that played in NBA summer league stuff. There were NFL players that were practice squad guys who anticipated not making the roster or anticipated just being on a practice squad, not being a full-time roster member, who were actively trying to get out of the NFL to come back to college. Guys that were doing some preseason NFL stuff that were trying to get back in the transfer portal. Um, and we saw a bunch of that. Kentucky itself was involved with a running back, TJ Harden. I believe he was with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
But then we saw the Big Ten was the first to really take a step that said large scale sweeping punishments to the league. The SEC followed. It seems like the ACC is probably going to follow suit, and then maybe the Big 12 after. So that would be most of your Power 5 leagues. But essentially, these new guidelines released by the SEC state that any player who has one, previously declared for the NBA, NFL, or WNBA draft and did not properly withdraw. One, I also want to point out, it's really interesting to me that they did not include MLB in that. I don't really understand why. I mean, obviously, I know that football and basketball are the big revenue sports, but it just seems like you could have saved yourself a headache and just quickly thrown in an NHL and MLB in there because it's the same type of situation, but regardless, it says NBA, NFL, or WNBA draft and did not properly withdraw. 2, signed a contract with an NFL or other pro football league, NBA or G League, or WNBA or affiliate team. Or 3, has been listed on an NFL or other pro league, NBA/G League, or WNBA or affiliate roster, period. So anyone who's ever been on a roster, anyone who's ever entered a draft and did not withdraw, and anyone who's ever signed any kind of contract is done. They cannot play. And it's not just a slap on the wrist. The punishments include a 50% of games, I believe, suspension for the head coach. Like you could suspend the coach for half the season, penalties to the institution in the form of fines, all kinds of stuff. And a point that was made to me, one of my first thoughts was, well, what's to stop these court cases from just like they've already said the NCAA cannot punish a team for doing this. So what's to stop them from saying the SEC and the Big 12 can't? Well, the easy thing to say would be, well, all 16 schools theoretically. I think the recent report is that LSU abstained from their vote, which of course LSU abstained. You know, public enemy number one, abstain from the vote, addressing public enemy number one.
Anything
Um,
else would be uncivilized on their part.
yeah, I mean, if you'd have told me one school out of the entire power conference system said no to that, I would have probably immediately said LSU, followed by maybe Texas Tech. But
Mm.
LSU saying no or just not voting was very on brand and very funny. But all the same,
Spoke volumes.
yeah, all the same, this was not just a rule that was made and enforced. This was a rule that was agreed upon by university presidents, by chancellors, by athletic directors. So it would admittedly be harder to push back on that in a court of law to say, well, this isn't fair. When a judge could just say, did you or did you not agree to these terms? Like, it's at this point, it's a contract. So, um,
Oh.
that is an important point to make, but that raised a bunch of questions for Kentucky. So for football, first and foremost, theoretically, they'd have to stop pursuing TJ Harden immediately. He would immediately be ineligible by these new guidelines. He could not play. Kentucky would have to stop its pursuit of him. I think Missouri is also involved with him a little bit. We saw reports
Mhm.
that their star running back will not make the start of the season after suffering a gunshot wound earlier in the
Yeah.
year.
My
Uh,
cousin Ahmad got shot down in the SIP over the summer.
mhm.
So yeah,
And
yeah.
then, there's also questions about Alex Afari. He did attend a Packers mini camp after not being drafted, um, but he did not remove himself from the draft. He was in the draft, did not remove, and then went to a Packers mini camp. Then you look at basketball. There was questions over Mark Mitchell immediately because Mark Mitchell, he was in the draft process, did not, remove himself from that, and then initially there was a lot of reports that he had signed an Exhibit 10 contract with the Denver Nuggets. That would immediately disqualify him. However, I've since taken that out of my story because talking to sources, talking to the people involved, it seems that he did not actually sign that contract, but simply agreed to it in principle. And that sounds like a cop out, but that's actually how most of these Exhibit 10s go. Very few players actually put pen to paper on an Exhibit 10 contract. They usually just agree to the terms and don't sign it. So that's something that will probably come up again. And then you look at even women's basketball, for example. Their star Sivka, who was an international player, she was a part of the 2025 WNBA draft and was selected 10th overall. She was selected in the top 10 of the WNBA draft, did not sign a contract, did not play. The next questions that kind of come out of that, though, we'll just start with Sivka. Sivka could not have taken her name out of the draft. She was an international player. You don't have the option to take your name out of the draft if you're an international player. She did not sign a contract. It doesn't matter that they said her name on a podium. She did not sign a contract, did not play for them, didn't have the option. And then also when you look at a player like a Mark Mitchell or even an Alex Safari, one of the easy points to be made would be, one, it seems like they should be ineligible because they went through the draft process. They did not withdraw. But at the time in which they made that decision, they didn't know there was another option. That to me, that is the thing that's going to keep some of these guys eligible. Is you can say, one, I was out of eligibility. Why would I have withdrawn from the draft? What would be the point of doing that? It doesn't work the same way as a college player that withdraws and comes back. There was nowhere else to go.
Hmm.
Um, and two, most of these guys who went through this draft process, like a Mitchell or an Afari, it's very likely had they known there were other options, they would not have gone through the draft process because they would have preferred to come back to college, and they were excluded from doing so again by the NCAA's extremely poor implementation of this new 5-for-5 policy. Had they known that they would get the same, that they would be able to sue for essentially the same rights that every other college basketball player below and above them are getting, because everyone younger than them is getting 5-for-5. Everyone older than them had the COVID year that they could lean on as well. If they had known they'd get the same opportunities as everybody else, it's probably unlikely that a lot of these guys would have gone through the draft process, would have declared in the first place, or not withdrawn in the first place. But there wasn't anything there telling them there was another option. And that's where you're going to see some of these continued discussions. There's a lot of people I saw, maybe not as many. I think by this point, most people are fairly not happy, but just accepting where things are right now, that they were very skeptical seeing this announcement. But I did see some people out there that were like, good on the SEC, this is going to end all this nonsense. No. Immediately, no, this is not going to end all this nonsense, because there are so many other things that now need to be discussed. Who does and doesn't qualify within these parameters? Who does and doesn't have a case that can say, it's not my fault that I did this because there wasn't any other option? In Mark Mitchell's case, he didn't sign an Exhibit 10. He would not have gone through the draft process had he known there was an option. How are you then going to say that player violates these rules and should not be allowed to play? Same with Sivka. She could not have removed her name from the draft. She was an international prospect. She did not sign a contract. She did not play in the W. How can you then say she shouldn't get the right to play in college? And even for Alex Safari, he went to a mini camp but did not sign a contract. He went through the draft, did not know he had eligibility. How can you say that guy shouldn't get a shot to have the same, opportunities that players younger and older than him got, when he didn't know there was another option? Now, players like Harden, sorry, bud, I'll see you. Try to make the most of your practice squad, I guess. But like, there are certain players that are just, that's it, they're gone. It's kind of like these new sweeping rules didn't eliminate the problems, they just eliminated some of the problems. Had these rules been in place, the Charles Bediako situation would not have happened. That would have been a clear-cut case.
See?
Similarly, if the Big 12 adopts these policies, James Najee would not have been able to play for Baylor, and now George Mason, of all places. But the A10 doesn't have these rules right now, so he can play there. But all you've really done is you've eliminated some of the more obvious cases of this guy should not be back in college. But these fringe cases that have been having lawsuits, these people that have been, getting these injunctions saying all these different things that we've been dealing with, they're not going away. And if anything, all this has done is it's just narrowed the framework in which you make your argument. It's going to continue, it's going to keep going. These rules do not end the chaos, but they do hopefully provide some clear structure and parameters going forward. It's the same way I feel about 5-for-5. I think it's good in principle, but it just should have been implemented in a much better way, because I think it's going to provide a much better framework going forward. It's going to give you a better foundation going forward. But the way we've chosen to implement it is, it's kind of like, the idea that forest fires are actually good for nature because they help eliminate some of the old growths, allow for new plants to take root. I'm sure it's going to be much better. It's going to be a much better forest going forward. But tell that to the bird who's there when the house is on fire. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't compute in that way. But
Mhm.
that's kind of where we are. That's a lot of the changes we've seen recently. Of course, I don't remember if we've said on episode, Mark Mitchell did commit to Kentucky, so that is
Yeah.
notable. And that's part of the reason Kentucky is going to be so involved in some of these decisions going forward, to try to work out who is and isn't eligible, who can and cannot play, and what the future holds for football, basketball, women's basketball. And then even as we get to the spring, MLB, Kentucky doesn't really have hockey apart from club status to worry about with, but like other schools that are in my framework will, Boston College and schools like that will have to worry about the NHL as well. But it is interesting to see these rules to explain what they mean. Unfortunately, I think that the immediate effect is not significant. And I don't think it's that significant. I think that it's not going to change a ton. It's just going to eliminate some of the more obvious cases where we can point to and say that guy probably shouldn't be playing in college anymore.
Yeah, you said going forward, and that's where everybody's trying to get to the
Mhm.
going forward because the start we stumbled out of the starting block and are rolling around on the floor trying to get on our feet to get to going forward right now because it's unbelievable.
I would also add too, I think that a lot of fans are really exhausted and tired by all of this. And I would just add that being in the media, interacting with people, a lot of media and a lot of coaches are tired of this too. They want this to be done. I would go as far as to say that apart from just a few instances of people who want to use these systems to benefit from them and certain schools, most people, whether those are coaches, media members, or fans, are all just wanting to get to the going forward. They want the foundation, they want the rules in place so they can work within them, but I don't think anybody is enjoying where things are right now. I don't think anybody is enjoying trying to recruit a player and then them being deemed ineligible and then back eligible. And then we don't know if they're eligible. And then we can offer them money to come be on our team and they can make us better. But I don't know if they're going to play a game for us. None of this is fun for anybody. It's really not. And everyone just wants to get to the light at the end of this tunnel. This tunnel just keeps getting longer and longer, though, Vinny. It feels like you're getting close, and then it feels like it stretches out longer, and you're like, oh my gosh, like we are less than 2 weeks away from Kentucky football's first game. Tomorrow are when the first college football games start, and granted it's FCS, but this week and next week are when these games start happening. And we still have teams that don't know who's going to be on their roster or
Yeah,
not. There are teams that are still trying to figure out who they can have on their team for
yeah.
games that start either tomorrow or next week. This is ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous that we're in this situation, but that's where we are.
Yeah. I think and Mark Mitchell, I think he was doing that Billy Gillespie with that uh, E10 contract. I think
Mhm.
that just a memorandum of understanding because Billy never signed nothing while he was
Mhm.
here.
Yeah, it's a very common practice for a lot of these E10s, especially when you don't. It's summer league. You don't really know if you're going to actually get a contract. They bring up the E10 to you, and you're just like, sure, why not? But you don't put pen to paper on that. I think out of all of them, I think only one player like really, really signed it that would kind of fit into the like when we're looking at all these players trying to come back, I think only one of them, and it was not anyone related to Kentucky, actually signed the E10. Most of them did not and do not. It's just agreeing to it on principle because why not? But signing those is not as common as some people think they are.
Mhm.
A lot of wasted trees for those
Yeah.
contracts that don't get signed.
So the second scrimmage happened. That's what I mean,
Mhm.
getting more towards stuff on the field, and
Second and final scrimmage.
yeah, and Stein was a little bit happier with that one than he was the first one, seemingly. So there's
Yeah, I mean
that.
that brought up a few concerns with some fumbles, but
Yeah,
overall he was in a better mood than he was after the first.
yeah.
It's hard to fully say at this stage because a lot of times he'll criticize the offense, but part of it, I don't know how much of it is actually the offense did bad or the offense just isn't meeting Will Stein's extremely high standards of offensive football. It's hard to know sometimes. And that's not a knock. That's a fact. I mean, when you're one of the better offensive or defensive coaches, your standards are much higher. So I don't really know at this stage if Kentucky is just not where it needs to be or if it's not where it could be. You know what I mean? Um, I guess we'll see coming up as the seasons get closer, but less than 2 weeks. But at the end of the day, it was the last scrimmage. We got they said that we got to see a lot of young guys. They want to just kind of keep people healthy. They were trying to just get people ready for the season, so they got to see some young guys, see what they could do. This week, they're not going to do a scrimmage. They're going to be doing a mock game day with a mock catwalk, all of that, walking through the tunnel, high fiving some fake fans, and just getting ready to get ready for game day and how that's all going to work. So We're almost there, Vinny. We're almost there. I can see it on the horizon. The football season's right here. Fall camp is almost done, but got one more week to go.
For those fans that bought the experience, maybe they should get the little mock too. I mean, if I paid to come out of the tunnel for Youngstown State, maybe hey, let me get a little practice. It's preseason for me too.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
but that's you know all these experiences that are being sold, and I guess the JBat fingerprints are on things already as far as creating revenue. Uh, they're decreasing sales prices for concessions. It won't affect you, but for those who come in and want a hot dog and a beer, and the prices actually went down for those, so that was good to see.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this too. They actually also added a new change as well that students can use their student ID and their meal plan for college to get certain concession stand items. Obviously, no alcohol, but um, there are different packages at the games that allow you to use a student ID, like a college ID, meal swipe, if you've got a meal plan with the university to get those. I think that's really cool. There were a lot of people saying, "Where was this when I was in college?" I half wanted to say where was this when I was in college, but it only would have mattered for my freshman year because I was covering football every year after that.
Okay.
Um, but I just think that's cool. I think that's a good change. Keep the students lively, keep the student atmosphere good. It can't be the SEC if you don't have a good student section. So I think that's a good change. There's been a lot of good changes there with the price decreases, the allowing of meal swipes to count there, the different fan experiences. I'm really excited to see how it all kind of comes together when it's finally time to be game day and how different the experience is able to be and how much better it can be.
Yeah, yeah. So if I can get a little bit of that up there. So yeah, a lot of change, as you would probably expect. It's a new administration, new game day host Octavia Phillips, game by game fan themes, expanded food and beverage offerings, including local favorites. I don't know if that's going to be like some like hot browns or burgoo, or I mean, that's
They
what
do have
people
Burgoo at Rupp Arena, so
is. And what's that place down from Rupp? I used to get burgoo there all the time. Uh, Oh, but a new just walk out concession locations, you can just walk in and it charges your card, and cashless concessions, new chairback seating, lots of new bells and whistles and amenities. Uh, there's the concession stuff. Here we go. There we
mm,
go. There we go. Hot dog knocking 40% off, $5 down to three. Same for pretzels, nachos, 33% off, 25% off popcorn, if my math is right.
$5 beers. Hold up,
Yeah, half
hold up,
price.
Vinny.
Half
Hold up,
price.
Vinny. Might have to trade in
Uh,
the old press pass for.
yeah. Or swing through there before you check in.
Hmm.
Before you check in and go upstairs to the press elevator. Yeah, so good stuff. I mean, that's and for people that have, maybe with the changes with new parking lots. It used to be so much grass when it was
Mhm.
Commonwealth Stadium, and you could tailgate everywhere, and that's not the case anymore. And maybe you've been moved, and there were people that were upset at the previous administration because I've been here since 1990, and then they're not, and so this is some goodwill. This is getting on people's good sides, and they're still gonna make plenty of money. They're still gonna
Oh yeah.
rake it in. It's gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
sold out, and people will buy more hot dogs and pretzels and beer and water and chicken baskets and so on and so forth. So
I'm just saying, man, when you've had a few drinks in you, there ain't a whole lot that sound better than a $3 hot dog. You could put down like four of those things. It's
love a hot dog, man. Love
I,
all
I
that
love a cheap hot dog. A cheap hot
stuff.
dog is where it's at. I'm not gonna pay a lot of money for a hot dog, but if you're offering cheap hot dogs, give me three. I'm like, I'll take them.
And we're just outside. I mean, you can be at your house in your man cave on your couch, and you have a good appetite, and you're eating good,
Mhm.
and you got your game food, you got your nachos and all that. But when you're there and it's outdoors, and I'll you know reminisce. Me and my dad were at your spot. We were at Fenway for a couple of Red Sox games, checking that off the bucket list, and it just felt like I was starving the whole game. Went and got a couple Fenway Franks. A few minutes later, went look. I'm like, I'm up north. I'm in Boston. Let's try some clam chowder. So we went to the concession and got some chowder. And if I'm watching at a bar or in the room, I think I'm full after the first round. But
Mhm.
you're taking it in, you're excited, and you eat that first round, and then you're hungry again. And so we go back to the concession. I think a lot of people in Kroger Field are gonna do the same thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
already brought your bourbon in with you. Oh, let me go get some pretzels now. Oh, let me go get some popcorn. That chicken basket. Yeah, let me you can get a lot of that.
Mhm.
Just
I think it's
go.
a great change. I think it's a really great change, and it's better for the fan, especially in this modern economy. Tickets cost a lot of money sometimes, but
Yeah.
if you can get in there, you get some cheap food, you get to have the whole experience. It's like for me, some people say popcorn. This might be a little blasphemous. I don't necessarily feel that way, but I can't go to a movie and not get a drink and some candy. I gotta get something like that. I don't always have to have popcorn. Popcorn makes it better, but I don't always gotta have it.
Hmm.
But, like, I don't full transparency, I don't get to go to a whole lot of sporting events these days that I'm not covering. I don't go to sports recreationally as much as
Yeah.
I used to, but if I do, man, Imma get some food. Imma have the whole experience, and for that experience to be just a little bit cheaper, in some cases a lot cheaper, that is better for the average fan, that is better for the game day experience, that is better for each and every one of you listening who get an opportunity to go to a Kentucky football game.
Yeah. Yeah. So little details, couple dollars here, couple dollars there, but you know, people are gonna spend a ton in gas to come from
Mhm.
Paducah and Owensboro and
Even out of
Richmond
state,
and Corbin
Kentucky's
and
a
yeah.
international brand, so
Hmm. So yeah,
it's a
that's
national brand and international brand.
yeah. So throwing the fans a bone, man, that's never a bad thing. You're exactly right. So how many stories you working on at once right now? We're looking forward to you on your
Uh,
Twitter page in the coming hours.
so right now we're in an interesting spot where I'm really trying to push, and get a lot of this final basketball yearbook stuff out. So I've got 1, 2 more, like, profile stuff to do, 1, like, longer form story, finish up my back half of the SEC previews and all the non-conference previews, and then all the while with my normal coverage, I've got, like, 5 or 6, football fall camp stories to try to put out on the site. Obviously, keeping up constantly with all these changes going on with the SEC, with basketball, with you name it. We're all over the place right now, Vinny. I'm getting pulled in 1,000 different directions, but we're just trying to get the most that we can, put the most out that we can, get the most done that we can, and just take it day by day.
Absolutely. Only imagine. Appreciate you taking 30, 40 minutes to get pulled in here and do an episode of Believe in Kentucky people. So I always appreciate your insights. I'll follow Cole at Cole Park underscore WSC, Cat's Paws 247 Sports. And check out all the content. You see us retweet from the Believe in Kentucky account. We retweet everything from my account as well. So give Cole a follow. Check out all the content, all the coverage, all the media sessions he's at, all the press conferences he's at, bits and pieces of practice he gets to see, all that good stuff. So check Cole out and continue to give us a follow. Continue to check out our episodes. Get yourself a shirt as well. Get yourself a Cat Daddy shirt. Shop.believe.com. Blue, white, or gray. Get yourself a shirt to add to your collection. We would appreciate it. Cole, man, appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And we'll talk back next week. I might do a little bonus episode this weekend. Former UK quarterback who used to host the show with Aaron and I, Dylan Whitlow, is coaching and teaching and been offensive coordinator. And through the week, he just can't. He used to come on, I think Aaron and I and him. I think Wednesdays was our night too, or Tuesday. But Saturday morning, it's going to work. So just get his thoughts on the season, get his thoughts on Stein, the quarterback position, and he would always come on here and nerd out. You know, that man knows ball. And so y'all check that out. Might do a little quick something with him. And Cole and I'll be back next week. He can pull himself in another different direction, hop on and drop some more knowledge for everybody. So we put a bow on this one now. Go Cats. Season's almost here. This craziness with the 5 for 5 is ridiculous. I'm the same way with recruiting. I just kind of wait and see what the team looks like. Wait and see when the dust settles what it's going to be because it changes from minute to minute. But we'll hop off here for now. Cole, this is Vinny. It's been Believe in Kentucky on the Believe Network. Everybody stay safe. Enjoy your day. Here comes our new outro. See y'all later.